I think we can start. It's 45, so we are right on schedule.
All right, should I introduce the flow of happenings? So
yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, this workshop is called Grow and Make Your Own, and we'll have this small introduction, and basically we'll have the workshop part of this, and in the reflection time of the workshop we will put comments in the chat place of Zoom, and I will create these mind maps which we will develop together. And after that, we will think about it more and have a little discussion. And meanwhile, while we're talking and in Zoom in the chat, we can talk to each other and think about the ideas we have put here. So I believe we can start.
Excellent. If you can make us the focus, or what it's called?
Spotlight.
Spotlight, I guess.
Yeah, you're pinned.
We still see you really big, but then if you all see us as the spotlight, then it's fine. I see people nodding and giving us emoticons. Very good. All right. Yeah, let's start the workshop. My name is Rogier JUPIJN. I'm an educator officially from the Netherlands, and I now live here in Latvia, where I work with electronics and art projects. And I'm part of this duo who does the more technical stuff. And you can introduce yourself.
Well, I am an artist by profession, but everything I do, I try to do practical. So I don't really do like classical art. We call it media art or new media art. But everything I do, I try to make it actually work. So everything is, all the prototypes that I'm building are meant to be copied by people. And I really, in my practice, I really try to inspire people to grow food. And today we will go through the process of creating an aquaponic from scratch. And also we will end up with how to automate aquaponic to really reach the potential of lazy gardening. And hopefully at the end of this, you will be able to go find a bucket and start growing basil. So we will start with the aquaponic. Maybe Rogier can show the actual aquaponic.
Yeah.
Aquaponic consists of some container of fish, but the fish part is there to provide nutrition. So you can see in the aquarium there's a lot of stuff in there, like gravel, and I have also parts of trees in there, and also the small aquaponic has a lot of plants. That all stuff is in there to provide so the environment in there would be stable. You see your finger in the video. And so the water that is in there is dirty, but the bigger the environment is, the more stable it's gonna be. So if you start with a small aquaponic, it's a very good idea to fill it up with a lot of gravel, a lot of plants, and just fish stuff, because it will also make your environment a lot more stable. Because bacteria lives in the gravel and also in the plants, and that is actually the thing that creates the nutrition for the plants. Because a fish, like it's a very rude way to say that the fish poop, and then the plants eat the poop. It is not actually true. The fish waste then goes into the gravel. It is eaten by the bacteria, and that creates the nutrition that the plants will use. So when you start small, just fill it up with a lot of gravel, and just use sand, whatever color, whatever is you like will be fine. Don't use gravel from your garden or from like a sea coast, because it might not be clean and your fish might get sick. About the choice of fish, I'm using just a normal koi fish. We call it the fat one. We used to have two of them. We had the fat one and the tall one, and there were also some small ones, and they kind of all passed away. But this fish now is 7 or 8 years old, and it lives in a rather small tank, but it's happy, so I'm not really bothered by it. As you saw in the pictures that I showed earlier, an actual aquaponic in the industry will have thousands of fish. So the fish in the industry, they are not there to be comfortable. They are there to be food. But my fish, as the size that it is now, it's perfectly fine. It can provide the plants with enough nutrition. So when you choose your fish, you can choose whatever fish is pretty, is simple, and is kind of a big pooper. So goldfish and koi fish is a good idea. And you should also experiment with how many fish you have to have, because well, the water needs to be quite dirty. And but you can always just not clean the water. That is also a good idea. This aquarium that we see now, it's been recently cleaned, but in a normal situation, the water is almost not transparent. It's looks more like a pond water than an aquarium water. It will never be clear blue like in a pet store. That is not how an aquaponic looks like. Aquaponic is quite dirty, and we can also see that there's water, a lot of bubbles in there. So there's an air pump. The air pump is also another thing that well, provides the stability of the environment, because the dirtiness of the water is nitrate. So it's written as NO3, and when it becomes poisonous, it's poisonous for fish and for plants. It becomes NH4. It loses the oxygen part, and when we lose the oxygen part, everything starts to suffocate. So we are adding extra bubbles to make sure that we stay into the nutritional part of the environment. If you don't keep fish in there, it's still a good idea to have an air pump, because it will allow you a lot more stability, and it will allow you a lot more of this free. Well, you don't have to bother about it that much, so you don't care for it too much. So, and that's the idea, to spend as little time as possible in your everyday life with this. Another thing that is in there is a pump. For me, it's a large pump because it needs to pump up quite high. But if you start small, whatever pump will be fine. When you buy a pump, usually it will say that this pump can pump up to like 20 centimeters, half a meter, a meter. So you have to know how high you have to go. And after that, just choose a pump that is kind of the smallest possible for you. And a pump is not a filter. So a pump is just a pump. It just pumps water. We also use a filter, and the filter is there also just to make this like a next step into laziness. Because if you don't use a filter, you will have to change the water a bit more frequently than when you do use a filter. And you can show for the babies. The babies also have a tiny filter, and you can see inside of the filter. I hope you can see. Well, not really. Well, you will just have to believe me that there's the filtering material in there, and the filtering material, exactly the same way as the gravel, will just provide a more stable environment in there, because it just collects bacteria, it collects like just stuff in there. So you don't have to clean the filter that often. I'm cleaning my filters once every 2 months, so I would have to spend like an hour or two cleaning my aquarium at once in 2 months. Sometimes if I don't overfeed the fish, it's even less. So those are the axolotls. There's 2 of them. We call them babies. And so that's just to show that you don't have to keep fish. Like, it can be anything, just whatever you want, anything pretty that is pretty for you. And yes, the pump. The pump pumps up water. And after that, the water just falls. It's just gravity. So everything is slightly tilted. And it just goes into the tubes and slowly falls through the aquarium. The pump is not on all the time. We call it the flooding. So you flood the tubes and the water goes away. It's not really, I can't really tell you how long you will have to flood your plants. You can't leave the plants in water because they will drown. But the frequency of the flooding will depend on how clean or dirty your water is. So we are flooding it for a minute, I think every hour. And when you read online about building an aquaponics, they will have a bunch of calculators that will tell you what to do and how long to flood. It is not true. It is not a set calculation, and you can't possibly tell how long you have to flood each and every aquaponic. It really is a trial and error. And you can find out if your aquaponic is a working condition, is excellent, by just watching your plants. If your plants are dark green, happy, there are no yellow spots or no brown spots, then you're fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. And if your plants, will share my screen.
Green button.
Oh,
what do you want to share? What do you want to show?
The folder. So screen 2.
Yeah.
I have I found like an excellent, nice little thing. It's a guide. Like what are you missing? And when you start missing something, in an aquaponic, there's nothing that much really you can do. The best thing to do is, well, most of the time you will be missing something. So add more fish, add more plants, add more gravel, make your aquaponics dirtier. And the other thing we can do is get nutrition that you can spray on the leaves. And you can either buy it or make it yourself. That's up to you. So most of the time we will be missing potassium, magnesium, and those are the things that are just very little in a normal environment. So you can, I like this, I find it very clear and very pretty, but you can just Google whatever is wrong with your plant and you will find some kind of solution. So, and this is really, it's a guide of what is missing, because when you start, something will be missing. There's nothing we can do about it, but it doesn't mean that your aquarium is not, your aquaponic is not working. It just means it needs to be dirtier. Most of the time, it really just needs to be as dirty as possible. How do I get rid of this?
The sharing of the screen is over that side. Oh, sorry.
And this is just a schematic, and an aquaponic is, they are all basically the same. So whatever size they are, whatever shape they are, it's gonna be a dirty water, an air pump, and this pump that pumps up the water. And you can find different kinds of aquariums, but really don't stress about it. Just use whatever materials you have at home that you have handy. And this is everything that we are using is kind of very do-it-yourself, and it's very, very nothing. And so I will stop sharing. And you can grow your food from seed before putting it in an aquaponic. But you can also just buy a plant. You can maybe show this.
Yes, I'm starting the camera. Are we going?
I want to show how it looks like. So these are pots that I made myself because the shape that we have for the aquaponics is not really traditional. We are using ventilation tubes that we are glued and silicone so they would hold water. So I made my pots myself. Normally you could buy these pots. They are very cheap. Also, you can just use whatever, literally whatever. Just use a plastic cup and poke some holes in it. Just whatever you can find. And because I needed a taller one, I made this myself. And it has the gravel in the bottom one. It is actually not very necessary. And on the top part, we have the foam. The medium in there is just to hold the plant in place so the plant wouldn't fall over. And the second thing is when the plant is out of the water, if something happens, if something fails, if your pump breaks, anything happens, this environment will keep it stable for, well, for at least a day or two. It just holds water and it allows you a bit more freedom. And on an end stage, the plant will be just mad with roots. And that is a good thing. Because if a plant grows in soil, the soil is there to provide, well, water basically. And because it's soil, it's hard, the root can't really grow as much as it wants. But in an aquaponic, there's nothing stopping the root. So the roots will be very large, and it's a good thing. We want our roots to be large. And the roots are white because they don't like sunlight. So your aquaponic, the actual pot, should be kind of at least in the shade. If you want to experiment with transparent tube, you can do it. Just be careful that you not shine too much light on the actual roots. We can talk about lights now. We are using grow lights, different types of grow lights. These are very basic pink grow lights. You can order them online, and they are very different price. And just that is also something to experiment with. You can start with just order like the cheapest one from China. It's fine. It's just a grow light. There's nothing wrong with them. Just find a provider with good references and order them. And if you can show the white one. The pink ones that are only pink, they work perfectly fine. And there are a lot of ads about this one that we are now showing. It's called the full spectrum one. It's kind of orangey. And the companies who make these lights have presented the research, and doing air quotes. It's research made by grow light companies, so you have to really think critically about it. So they are saying that it is not true that the plant doesn't see the green light. The plant sees all light that exists. And the thing is that for a plant, it's easier to filter other lights, other spectrum. So the green one will be just the one kind of left behind. So the deeper parts of the plant, so the lower leaves will get something that the higher leaves have not been filtered. So you can use the full spectrum one, the white ones, that include also the green light, to provide this idea that the plant will use the full spectrum. I've done some experiments with it, and it doesn't really make any difference. The only thing that makes difference is that the light needs to be bright enough. If there's too little light, the plants will still grow, but they will not grow very healthy. But that's also, it's just an experiment, and it's something that you can look into it if you're interested. But for a cheap starter version, just go for the pink ones. They are a lot cheaper. So either it's the red and blue ones or the pink ones. It doesn't matter. They both work. And then the blue and green ones, the red and blue ones. The idea is that we use the blue light for the seed and the small plant, and the red light for the flowering and then fruit. It's also, if you want to go very deeply into it, you can save a tiny bit of energy using only the blue and only the red. But as a beginner, it's perfectly fine to just go for the pink one, and it's fine. Each of these lights, they cost about €5 of electricity per month. Sorry, didn't say that. So it's a bit added to your electricity bill, but well, that's just something that we can live with, and just use LED lights. In older days when I started, we used something like a high pressure or low pressure sodium light. So those are the exact orange lights that we still use in street lights. That one will cost you €30 per month. Some people say like this is the OG, like this is the original way how to grow. It is not true. It is nonsense. It does not add anything. Just use a cheap pink light from China and you're fine. So when you start planting when you grow your plant, I wanted to show you how to actually get the plants into the aquaponic. So this is Benny. You can see the birth date of Benny. Well, we use names and date cards for the plants just to keep track of them. But also it's just a fun extra little thing to do. And in this spot we have a kind of leftover Benny because I already used the nicer plants, and these are the leftover plants because I don't throw away my plants. I let them grow, and eventually even if they are a bit slower growers, they will still reach the point when I can use them in my aquaponics. So mine a nice fat one. Oh, this one is nice and fat. Carefully take it out because you don't want to pull off the roots, because if you pull off the roots, it will take time for the plant to recover. It is still fine that like it happens, it's an accident. Just do it carefully. It is still a plant, it's still a living thing, and it will survive, but it will take time to recover. And for the foam, I'm just using the same foam that I'm putting in the filter. So it goes into the fish filter, and also I can use it for the plants. And so I'm just cleaning off the smaller leaves. It's just there, so it's less likely to develop mold. and just wrap the plant in there. I should rinse the root. I'm not doing that, but kind of rinse the root. It's fine if there's some soil stuck to it. It's nothing gonna happen. But just don't put like a lot of soil in your aquaponics. It's just gonna make the job for the filter a bit harder. And this is it. Just some foam to kind of keep it in place, and treat the roots well. And this little baby is now moving into the small aquaponics. The lights are on for about 12 to 16 hours per day. Also, that depends on what are you growing. For example, a basil grows perfectly well in just all year round. It is a bit harder to grow like a very picky plant. But you can also get find these calculators on how long is the day in the original plants, like in the country where the plant comes from. So you can kind of calculate that in how many hours the light should be on in spring, and in May, in June, July, August, and then again you reduce the amount of hours per how long your light stays on. And also it's fine to just keep it on for 16 hours all the time. The plant will be tiny bit stressed, but it's fine. It just it's gonna survive. But this is a way how you can save a tiny bit of electricity. When you grow herbs and basil, it's very important to take care of your plant. And by taking care of the plant, can I show something? You have to eat the plant. Don't let the plant overgrow, because if the plant gets too old, it will want to start flowering, and then it kind of goes into the decline phase. So what you do is you see a plant, it has the tiny armpits, and every time you get like nice new leaves, just clip the arm, like just above the armpit, and this is where the new plant will start. It will start growing new leaves. And this is just in my house. All the boxes are filled with drying basil. Just make sure to not allow your food to go into the dying phase, because then you have to start from scratch. So this is the first part, the aquaponic system. And now Rogier will take over and tell about how to automate the thing. Unless we have questions, I guess.
Yeah, if we have questions, we can answer some things, but otherwise I'll just continue to show the pump and how to automate it. All right, you can come here with me. So this is the latest aquaponics we are making. It is just a simple aquarium with some axolotls in there and some snails. And as Maija said, there's a pump in there that will pump up the water. And it's coming out here. I'm not sure if you can see this. There's little hose here. And this will pump up the water. But we need to get it in these 4 lanes, basically. So what I did was, and there's many solutions to this, but I just kind of 3D printed this valve system that has 1 inlet and has 4 outlets. So I can connect that to it. This is a new thing for me to do. I haven't ever worked with 3D printing stuff that transports water, but it's working quite nicely. So I just connect this to that little pump outlet and make sure that all the outlets are in the right place, which is about here. Yeah. Oh, there you go. You can take it. Okay. And now we can just feed it some power, the pump. I can just put it into the wallet here, and you can see that the water will kind of get out everywhere. It's a bit of an annoying sound. But yeah, the water is now being fed to the 4 different areas. And in the picture that Maija showed, there has to be an outlet. So there's 4 small drilled holes that just function as a little, yeah, what is it called? That the water can drain away. And we need to kind of do a little test to see how long do we keep this pump on, because there's of course a relationship between how quickly the wide lanes are filled up and how quickly they drain away. You want to kind of make sure the entire pot gets submerged, but not that it floods over, because then you'll just get a mess basically. And now the question is, how do we automate this? And there's many solutions for this. You can have these kind of smart electricity boxes that you control with your phone. And you can time those and say, I want it to happen at every hour, for instance. We have one back here. It is
30 euros.
30 euros worth of the box is 30 euros and comes with an app, and there's USB holes on it, which is very nice because you can automate a bunch of different stuff. But also that has limitations, because you are not the developer of the application, you're not the maker of that device. So if they have some weird limitation, you are bound by it. So we came up with a different solution, and I will show this to you directly on this camera. Let's see. I will do this one. Yes, we are on the screen and also there. Good. You can stop this if you want. No, that's fine. Okay. What you're seeing here is just something that's on my desk. I can wave my hand. You will see my hand, so that's okay. And what's happening here? This is a Raspberry Pi, and the Raspberry Pi is a single board computer. So it's a fully functioning computer. I can hook on a mouse to this. I can connect it to a display, and it will have a desktop environment. Not Windows, not Mac. It's Linux based. And it's very cheap. This one is a 0 version, as it's called, and it's about $10. So if you're ordering it for somewhere, it will be around 10 euros, maybe a bit more with shipping. And it's a fully fledged computer, which means you can program on it and you can make it do whatever. It has these little pins here, and I connected some wires to this relay board. And what a relay board is, basically it's a little switch, just like a light switch, but you can control it electrically. So the Raspberry Pi will send out a small voltage, a very low voltage. That's something that's very safe for us. And that voltage will open the switch. And these fat wires down here are just the broken wires that lead to these kind of things. Just the normal plugs, the European branded plugs. So what I can now do, I can just tell the Raspberry Pi to open a switch and it will conduct the electricity there. It might be good to show you how to do this. I won't go too deeply into programming and stuff you need to set up, but just to give an example of how this works, I will show you my desktop. And I will do that like so. Yeah, okay. You are on my desktop, and what you're seeing is a connection I've made with the computer that I'm using for Zoom, which is just a standard Windows computer. And I've logged in to that Raspberry Pi that you saw on the webcam. And in here, I can access its files. So I am somewhere in some kind of folder. And if I type this, it will show me what kind of files I have. Well, I make these files already. And what I can do, maybe I can show this together. I can run one of these files. So I can say I want to run the small pump. And if I do this, and I'll click on this one, and I'm pressing enter on my screen now to execute this little script, the light is turning on, which means that, hey, this block is turned on, and it will turn off after 60 seconds, I think. So this way you can really automate when your pump is turning on. The only last thing we need to do is kind of schedule this. And as Maija said, we are running our bigger pump for the wall aquaponics once an hour for a minute. But it might be that you have an environment where the water is evaporating quicker or it stays longer, so you might want to do it every 2 hours or every half an hour. And what we need to do for this, and I'll wait until this one turns off, which should be any second now, I think. I shouldn't have left this on 60 seconds. It's a bit long, I see. I will get this wire.
Well, in the meantime, I wanted to also show this. Like it's a, where is the webcam?
There.
This is a kind of mechanical plug. And that is something that you can use for the light. It's a very, very, just in a Home Depot store, you can buy a, well, mechanical lock. It's, I think, originally they are made for something like turning on and off your heaters in a house. So you can use them to control your lights. It's a very low tech and very cheap solution. They cost something like €1.
Yeah.
But you can also use the Raspberry, because this will not work for the pump. The pump needs some kind of solution. Either it's a Raspberry or it's some kind of programmable extension cord.
Yeah.
That's the programmable extension cord. It's a fine way to start. It's fine, but if you want more control of it, then the Raspberry Pi is the way to go.
Yeah, because these are limited by the steps. So this is only like half an hour resolution. So I could only tell the pump to be on for half an hour, which would basically flood the entire system and wouldn't be good. And I did want to show you the programming, and you might have no programming experience whatsoever, or you might be a seasoned programmer, but it is just something to, I would say, see. This is the little program, and it really is tiny. The only thing that's happening is down here, where it is. Yeah.
We have the screen of Raspberry.
Yeah, this is the one. Sorry, thank you for catching that. Yeah, this is a little program, and these are the lines that are important. So these rows, it turns on the relay by sending a high signal. It waits for a certain time, and this is that time in seconds that you can customize how long should the pump be on, because after this timer is done, it will turn off the pump basically. So I calculated, I did already a test for our small aquaponics here, and it needs about 1 minute and 45 seconds. So that's 105 seconds. Oh, I'm now ruining this. Very good. Let's go here. No, I'll do the bigger one. That might be better. I'll do the big one. Big pump. And I will change this one so it will actually work on the small pump. And as I said, 105 seconds, which is 1 minute and 45 seconds like this. And I will name this the small pump, because the bigger pump really needs only 1 minute, because the bigger pump really pushes so much water through it. It's yes, I want to overwrite this. Okay, but as I said, now we have this little script, and we can start this little script and it will do what we want it to do, but we also need to make sure this happens every minute, every hour, every interval, basically. And it's a really handy thing these systems come with. It's called cron tab. And what a cron tab does, it allows you to kind of schedule little programs that you might make yourself, for instance. And it looks like this. I have made one already. And it has 5 little numbers, and then the script you want to execute. And this is basically the first one. It's the minutes, the hours, the days, the months, and the years. So this literally means every 0th minute of an hour, activate. So every hour, every day, every month, every year, I want it to happen at minute 0. This is also very difficult to read sometimes, because this is very abstract. So there's very nice websites for this to show, and that looks like this. This is a website someone made where you can get a feeling on how to write this kind of scheduling stuff, which is interesting. It's crontab.guru, and if I change something here, so let's say I'll put an asterisk, it will say at every minute past hour 4. So the first 4 hours nothing will happen, and then every minute something will start happening. So it's a nice way to write this. And yeah, in this way we can automate our own setup. The one thing that hasn't been installed yet is, let's say, moisture sensors, because now we know that it's an aquaponics, and aquaponics just needs a certain amount of water, and after an hour that water will have drained away, and we can make it, we can water it up again. But if you have like a garden with actual soil outside, or even a greenhouse, not every day will be the same. So one day the water will evaporate really quickly. The other day, because it's raining, it will just stay moisty all the time. And you can use these little moisture sensors and hook them up to the raspberry I just showed you, and say, well, if the moisture sensor detects some dry ground, dry soil, then I want you to activate the pump I installed to feed it some water. So that's, I think, a next step for extremely lazy gardening. So yeah, the raspberry is something to look into, I would say. It is a bit complex in the beginning, but it's really liberating once you get the hang of it. It really opens up a lot of possibilities.
And also just understanding the Raspberry Pi and how to work it, you will be less dependent on companies that want to sell you very expensive stuff that is actually very, very simple. But to begin with, it's absolutely normal to use just a programmable extension cord, because if you are not used to, it is quite heavy to get into it.
Yeah. That is true.
I think we have told everything in a very, very quick manner.
Yeah.
So I think we can have some questions. I think we should stop sharing the screen.
We're not sharing the screen, we're sharing this.
No.
Thank you. I was thinking about those little plastic pots. What are they made for? Or what are those? They look handy.
They are literally called aquaponic pots.
Uh-huh.
So they are made to just hold a tiny bit of soil, and but it's a lot of room for this roots and water. But as I said, this is like a pre-made aquaponics pot that I've ordered online. But you can equally just get a scissor, get a plastic cup, and punch some holes in a plastic cup.
Yeah.
And everything that we are using is reusable, including the gravel and the foam that we are using. You just after using, you wash it and you can use it again. It's completely fine. As opposed to when you use soil, you have to follow some kind of calendar, because for example, if you grow a tomato in soil, you can't grow a tomato in the same soil again, because the bacteria around the roots of a tomato become poisonous for the next tomato plant. So if you are growing something in soil, you can find these handy little calendars that can tell you what to grow after what. And it's just a nice like a permaculture type of thinking, because people are really used to throwing out soil and bringing in new soil every year, and it's complete nonsense. And like turning the soil or replacing the soil, it is not necessary. Just follow the natural calendar, and you will save a lot of time and a lot of money. It's just you can Google for this. I have one that I don't really use, because I kind of at some point you start remembering stuff. But where's
left. Oh, your pictures?
Yeah.
Oh, in the folder. That's there. Desktop. Idea.
So this is a calendar that someone sent to me as a I don't know if a joke or something, and it shows you. I think this is made from in UK. So this is how to grow stuff in UK, and it shows you the rotation calendar. And you can find these for most stuff that you want to grow. Also, it's just absolutely normal to Google what should I grow after tomatoes, and you will most likely get a list of fruits and vegetables that you can safely grow after growing, for example, tomatoes.
Yes, that is it from us, I think.
If there are no more questions, I thought we talked very quickly. So.
Well, we took 45 minutes.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah.
But if there's something unclear, something that was too fast, please ask, and we will try to explain.
Yeah. And if I can add something, besides everyone has to start making aquaponics, I do emphasize that you get your hands dirty into electronics. It looks very difficult in the beginning, but the internet is such a wonderful source of information. And that little Raspberry Pi I can show you, we also had in the quarantine a way for people to come and watch our plants. So we had a robot that we made with a phone attached to it, and people can log into the phone basically and control the robot. So people at home could suddenly invade our privacy because this is in our workspace, in our workshop basically. And so I was sitting behind the desk and suddenly the robot would start moving behind me and looking at me and coming really close and then backing off again. But this is all powered by one of those little Raspberry Pis, and I can show you what it looked like for a user. So for someone online, they saw 2 video streams. One is from a panoramic 360 video stream. And the other one is what the robot sees with the little buttons on it that you can tell it to go forward. And this is when our workshop was way more clean than it is now. So that's better times, it looks like, yeah. But it's all still powered by just one of those tiny little computers that are 10 euros. So I do kind of want to motivate, encourage people to try this. For 15 euros, you can buy a super simple kit, and it usually comes with a little booklet for your first 3 projects. And you can do that in a day, and you will learn so much out of it. You can make these wonderful little creations. So just plugging in some other projects that we did. Yes. I can see a question. Yes, and that's a very good remark from Martins. The Arduino can replace the Raspberry Pi. That's very true. The Arduino is way cheaper. Where a Raspberry might be 10 euros, you can get the Arduinos for €1 or 2, especially if you go for the unofficial brands. And the Arduinos can really do a lot of the same things that Raspberry can do, if not more. But the thing I like about Raspberry is the total integration with the Wi-Fi is already there. It can have a video output easily made, so it is different. Yes, and that's also another good thing to say. It will become a bit more technical, but the Raspberry only has digital input, so it can only measure high or low values, basically. Whereas an Arduino can also measure the values in between. So a moisture sensor might say the moisture level in the soil is now 30% and it's dropping. And oh, this is an interesting question for you, I think. What is a reasonable output expectation for an aquaponic system? How many kinds of vegetables do you grow? And what percentage of your food do you think you can grow using aquaponics at home?
In an aquaponic, you can grow as much food as in the soil. So the output from each plant will be exactly the same. There are ways how you can kind of influence one and the other. Like, for example, using extra nutrition for a plant in a pot or in a greenhouse. The same way you can influence also the aquaponics plant. So the output of the actual plant, if it's a healthy, nice plant, the output will be the same. And what was the other question? Oh, how much food can I grow?
How many kinds of vegetables do you grow?
There are some vegetables that grow a bit better in an aquaponic system. I will recommend you to grow herbs because herbs grow very easily and also they keep small. The bigger the plant, it will just become cumbersome. It will be a mountain of plants. So just use common sense. If you grow tomatoes, just grow small types of tomatoes. And if you want to grow a carrot, don't grow a carrot in aquaponics. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
And it's you can grow anything. Just use common sense. Kale grows wonderful. Herbs grow wonderfully. Tomatoes, cucumbers. You can also grow strawberries in aquaponics. It's just anything that you want to eat. You can try to grow in aquaponics system. There are some plants that are they want very rich soil. So those you just have to also just adjust. So make your water even dirtier. It's it's a normal adjustment, and you can experiment whatever you want to go, and just grow a kind of medium-sized plant. If the plant is very small, it's going to be very hard to control it in that flowing water. And if the water is huge, it will be just very cumbersome to keep it in place.
We have another question. Do you find that growing in an aquaponic system influences the flavor of the plants for better or worse?
It does not.
No, I can testify to this. We grew a lot of kale here. Kale is also one of the national ingredients of Holland in the traditional Dutch kitchen. As so far Holland has a kitchen, it is one of those ingredients. So I grew up eating kale a lot, and you don't taste any difference. No, it is not. How is possible these ideas used in creating art? Till now, this is about everyday life. That's very true. I think the way we have designed this aquaponics is not just a functional device, but also a very artistic expression almost. Because you can, well, this is a very modular design, and we're making our third version is coming up of it. Well, for me, art has always been very practical, but I think you might be the more artsy of our two, so.
Well, the concepts behind the art part of it are very like slow media art, deep sustainability, the mindfulness, the quality of mind. Those are the keywords that if you're interested, you should recognize. But it's whenever I speak to public, I really don't want to scare them about starting to talk about the conceptual part. Like I'm in my mind, I have very clear separation when I talk to people about art concepts and when I want people to start growing food. So that's why the speech that we are giving you now is very practical. So the art part is there, but it's very conceptual. And we've made like one of our recent projects is a food radio, for example. It's a fun little thing. Like I'm making pictures of everything I eat. That is the base for my data. And I'm making pictures because making a picture is a lot easier than making a note, because you have your phone all the time with you, and just you eat something, make a picture of it. So, for example, I showed the pizzas and the watermelons, and we are using now the pictures to make a radio. So we made a small, well, it's not published yet, but it's going to be a website that allows you to listen to our food. So that is one of the projects that we did. I've made also a couple of well, visualizations of food and the data. So if you want to make art with aquaponics, are we sharing this now?
I can show them this, yes. We can zoom like this. This
is a little test. So it's a little program that is scanning the food and selects colors that are there. And like on the website, you'll be able to hear how it sounds like, how the food sounds like.
I think we can go to the next question. How fast do plants in aquaponics grow in comparison to the regular soil outside or inside?
You can influence the plant growth with the hours of light. Yeah. The plant will sort of grow at the same speed, but you can kind of, if the outside, you have to wait for the environment to catch up. Indoors with lights, you can really control it, and you can sort of speed time up a tiny bit. So you can kind of don't follow the exact hours of the day of when the sun is up, but you can speed a tiny bit up. So that's you can make the plants grow faster. They will be a bit stressed, but everything is fine. They will still grow, and especially if you don't grow very complicated plants, they will be perfectly fine.
Yeah, because you are basically simulating what time of the year we are in. Yeah. So if it's getting autumn, then the light is getting less and less amount of time per day. And this makes the plant just think, oh, it's autumn, I need to bear fruit, for instance. So this is how you make plants really think that it's time for the harvest soon. And there's another question, which I think is similar to this one. Do the seasons need to be replicated inside an aquaponic system? And that really is just based on the amount of light you're giving. So in the summer, especially here in Latvia, we have a night that might last for 4 hours. So then we set the lights for 20 hours of light if you want to simulate the summer. And then getting to autumn, you're going to dial it down to 16, maybe even 14 hours of light. So that you do need to think about what kind of stage of life is your plant in. But when you get those simple little timer things, it takes a second and you're ready to enter the new season, basically. So yeah, that's good questions. It might be that Petrus wants to take over, because we should also start going over questions that he's prepared, that we've prepared. So Petrus, please.
Okay, let's continue on this part. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yes, I hope so. Can you?
Yes.
Okay, so we are in the reflection time area of our plan, and I will ask you a question of what aspects of your everyday life, what habits, objects, or things that you know are not sustainable. And write your comments in the Zoom chat area, and maybe just try to talk to each other, or somebody wants to speak up of their situation or thoughts. Or this question have 2 sub-questions that you can answer also, and I will manage them around here. Which you can read, but also I can read them out loud. The first sub-question is, what would make you change? Money, time, or missing infrastructure? Should you change the infrastructure, or money would change your thoughts on the situation or the exact situation that is on? Or why do you keep those habits or things that that you think that are not sustainable? The discussion is open. You can freely talk to each other and comment in Zoom chat.
We can talk on these 3 questions.
At this moment, yes, we will go in about 10 minutes or 5 minutes into the next one. Let's keep it quick and fun, because we have a few of them. For example, what is your opinion on this question?
Well, basically, I look at the questions and I can say that, okay, for instance, the first one, what aspects of your everyday life are not sustainable? Unfortunately, I think most of the things we do in our daily lives are not sustainable. What can we talk about? You know, bottles, cups, coffees, straws, everything. And why don't we change these things, right? Because we think it's too complicated and difficult. But as far as I can see, there are so many different ways, you know, to change your daily habits. And so what I'm going to say, it doesn't have to do with the questions, but guys, I have to tell you that the things you showed us today was amazingly interesting. Seriously, I think it was one of the most interesting things I have seen in the last few years.
Okay, well.
Seriously, and no, excellent. I was shocked. I didn't even know that such thing exists. So, and you great demonstration of how it works, and I hope we will follow your example. You know, at some point, at least some of us. It's really amazing. Seriously.
Thank you for your.
Oh no! Well, thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, that's nice to hear. Yeah. as Maija is repeating, we hope that everyone will start using your spare buckets and see what happens, because it is very, very doable.
So probably you have said that before, but when did you start doing aquaponics?
Well, I started in the era where the aquaponics were not as popular as they are now. Now we have a lot of information. When I started, I think it was 7 or 8 years ago. So same age as the fish. I had to read weird forums and blogs about growing weed, because that's what it was used for. So there's a lot of Dutch websites about aquaponics, how to grow narcotics.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have so much information about aquaponics that it's very nice. I'm very happy about it. It has stopped being this obscure little illegal thing that people use. And it has gone into kind of, not really into the mainstream, but at least the mainstream of gardening world.
There's a question for earlier. How much time is saved by growing in aquaponics? Are the costs less? How passive is the progress compared to manually growing in an outdoor environment?
Well, the actual output of the money part, it is ridiculous. It does not save you any money. Because when you grow food, for example, if you grow basil, it costs you about €5 per month, and you can get fresh basil, and you will get like a couple of bunches of basil in about 2, 3, 4, 5 months. If you keep your plant healthy, it will give you more harvest, and it will stay in the adult stage longer. And but if you just go to a store, you can buy a bunch of basil for €1.
Yeah.
It's the same with growing tomatoes. In the season, you get super cheap tomatoes as compared to kind of keeping your plants in aquaponics for 6 months before you get your tomatoes. And you can buy that amount of tomatoes for a couple of euros. Or potatoes, that's ridiculous. You grow potatoes in compost, so you grow your potatoes, and you get nice potatoes. Of course, you get potatoes, but to buy a bag of potatoes from a supermarket, you will pay €2 for 20 kilograms. And the cost part is ridiculous, because to grow something for yourself, it's more about the mindfulness. It's more about the healthy habits and just being yourself and meditating with your plants, because you will most likely not save any money compared to if you would just buy it in supermarkets.
Well, what you will save on, and this is just going back to that more mindful stuff that you were talking about, you will save yourself some psychological issues, because I do think the whole gardening aspect is like, it's, unless you're a farmer, you will not make profits from your gardens. You know, you need to scale it up in such a way that it will actually become profitable. But you're doing it because you're paying off, you're nurturing your own mental health. And like for me, I only joined Maija in this whole enterprise a year or two ago. And before that, I never really gardened. And I was super bored in the beginning. I just felt like, why isn't there music in the background? Why is it? And I had to really focus myself on, no, just, you know, be in this and be careful what you're doing. And it's been a very nice enterprise. And now with this whole, the more technical approach, because the aquaponics still is not just dig a hole, put in a seed, cover it up, water, done, and let nature do its thing. This is a more controlled technological version of growing stuff. So I've been very partaken by that part. So I don't get paid in money, I get paid in experience. It forces me to learn about electronics, to I don't know, see differences in lights. We are also making time-lapse videos of what we are growing, and like we're not in the big screen at the moment, but all those things are side effects of us researching and trying to develop these projects. So it's been very rewarding, just not monetary. It's been rewarding in a different fashion. Oh yeah, this is very good. Petrus has opened up the link for all these questions. because I think that it might give people a bit less of a threshold to add stuff to it. So you can click the link and then you can start adding these tiny little notes to it. So just double click next to one of those questions and it will open up a note, and then you can add an answer. And maybe you don't know anything about this question, you have no idea, but you can read what other people are answering, and that might inspire you, like, oh yeah, I also have this this notion about it. I can formulate my thoughts a bit better now. So I would say let's stay at this question for a minute or two, three more, if that's okay with Petrus. And then we can go on to the next one, and we can slowly fill out all these different questions.
I can tell a story about the sustainable habits. I did a project with smaller children, so children who are 7, 8 years old. And it was in a high school. It was like a project week type of thing. And the two families decided that they will monitor their garbage. So how much trash they are using and how much they are recycling. And they, well, not a surprise, they generated a lot of garbage. A lot of it, well, most of the garbage was just plastic packaging. And for a couple of weeks, the children were trying to recycle. And after the month that they were monitoring their garbage, we had a small interview and they reflected on what they were doing. And the children said that, well, they stopped recycling because the garbage bin was closer than the recycling bin. So when you think about the reasons why you're not being more sustainable, that's the infrastructure part. If you would have the recycling bin next to your house, would you be more sustainable? Would you decide to recycle just because it's there, because it becomes easier? It stops being a problem in your everyday life.
Yeah. No, I agree with this. And when you go, for example, to Germany, I think it is, and you look at the stations of like the train stations, they're always so clean just because there's trash bins very close by to everything and they're already recycling. So people are lazy. I'm quite lazy myself, and I'm forcing myself to have like 4 bins in this workshop, one for plastic, metal, unrecyclables, unfortunately, and there's the paper stuff. Luckily, we use paper and wood to light the fire in our sauna, so it's being instantly used for something. But if that wouldn't be there, like I would just throw it in the bigger trash, because otherwise I would have to drive to the city next over, which has a beautiful recycling street, but it takes me, half an hour of driving, and the threshold has to be lowered. So the moment you supply people a convenient way to recycle, people are happy to recycle, I think.
Yes.
It's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's super difficult to recycle. You have these cardboard packages that are illuminated on the inside for the conserving of the product, and the outside of plastic, and it's maybe paper also, but it's printed on paper. So it's just, where do I throw this? In what bin does this go? So it's really about making stuff convenient, because as you said in your keynote, it's not about using less electricity, because people will always watch Netflix, and the internet will start using way more data and electricity just by the coming years. But be mindful of what you're doing and how you're doing it. So don't just leave your the Netflix television on for 8 hours in the background when you're not doing anything. That's just, at least then watch it, consume the content, and not just let it be a noise filler for your room. Because there's other ways to do that part, I think. So yeah, we're getting a lot of questions, a lot of answers, I think. Did we at some point also go to the next question already? I think that might be... No,
not yet, but I was making some directions that we should move on this question, which is about quality of food in your everyday life, and thoughts on this. Yeah,
that's a good question.
Well, this is again, this is just a habit, because we as a people, we like to eat tasty food, and we get easily addicted to tasty food. And I do believe that we are allowed to eat tasty food. It's just when we choose our food, we also have to be, we should read the content of the food, because the foods that are in the stores, they have a lot of tricks that they are using, like green labels, like or or stickers that this is like a eco, but it does, if it doesn't have a certificate, it's nothing, because it's just the design of the packaging. So when you start reading the content of the actual food, it is, at some point it becomes just stupid. Like how people are making food, food for us that is just it has a long shelf life. So it's fine if you buy these foods. It's just be aware of it. Just make a conscious decision that I will now eat something that is not insanely healthy, and keep it in some kind of proportion. So you can have just eat whatever you want. Eat meat, eat cheese, eat like eggs that are not from free-range chickens. For example, that's and also another thing. Like a normal eggs will cost less than €1. Free-range eggs will cost you 3-4 euros. And not everyone can afford this. So if you don't keep your own chickens, just be slightly more mindful and be maybe creative. Maybe you have a kind of local guy keeping chickens. Maybe you can have some kind of deal. For example, we have a strawberry dealer. She's a lady who grows strawberries for selling and for her family. And we know her personally, and she doesn't use well, any of the poisonous chemicals, and she's super environmental aware. And I do photos and I film her son's wedding for free, but I got paid in 2 bags of potatoes and a couple of strawberries.
Yeah, it was a good week. Very nice.
Yes, and those are just the little things that just keep on eating foods that you like, but just keep it proportional to the healthy foods. And I think this question is for me very interesting about how much time do you actually think about your food? It literally is like, do you think about it every time you go to the store? You don't think about it at all? Or how self-aware are you about what you eat?
Yeah.
Like it's fine if we eat pizzas every weekend. It's just
and we do.
And we do, yes.
Yeah, but we make them ourselves, and we think about it, what we want to add to it, and it's nice. It becomes a conscious thing. And as you said, like even eating meat, like you are, I would say, a hardcore vegetarian since a young age, and I've been not eating meat since I moved here. But I also know that if there's a special celebration where we are with a family and there's a meat being prepared ceremoniously almost, I know that I will eat it because it will become a conscious decision to do that. So it's just being mindful of what you're doing is a very good thing. Also, but we should kind of focus a bit.
I think we should move on to the next question.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we'll lock these ones. Lock.
And I would like to encourage the people in this room with this Zoom to join in these answers, or just writing down your thoughts. It's completely anonymous, and it's just like, this is a very good way to kind of get a feeling of how people are thinking about these quite difficult questions. Usually, questions that might I don't know, might not have a direct answer, or might have an answer that we don't like, you know? Like, what habits are unsustainable? Almost all my habits are unsustainable. It's a bit of a, it's quite confronting, but it's good to write this down. And even if you become mindful that your habits are unsustainable, you can slowly start to make a change, you know? It's like what on the Dutch televisions, there were at some points these commercials that said, like, eat meat 1 day less a week, because it's already 14% less meat consumption, which is quite a lot, and it's a good step in towards.
I think realizing the problem that, for example, as you mentioned, meat. If you actually realize that you don't need to, it's not an obligatory thing to eat meat like every day, then you can like realize that, oh, maybe I can make some kind of commitment that I eat meat lesser. So, or other things, as using plastic cutlery. It was actually banned in like a few days ago, I read this thing that it will be banned in Latvia to sell plastic cutlery.
I know that in Holland, the little plastic straws are banned for a couple of years now. They have to be replaced by the more degradable straws. So,
what do you think on this thing that governments are even telling us that we should make a change in these sustainable things? That it's not only personal view, but the government says, okay, we'll ban this. Hopefully it's gonna get better.
But that is the problem, because the government has all the power. Like the people who make the law could have easily just moved forward a lot faster. Like for example, with the electric cars, that's a very nice kind of just a thing that they could do. To start or make the cars cheaper by giving some like some special the dotations.
sorry.
Like government money to companies who do good stuff.
Like subsidies.
Subsidies, yes.
Funding.
Yeah, like the government could subsidize electric car making the electric cars more available and cheaper, so we would all could use electric cars. But that is not happening. We are still kind of stuck in this system that we are now, and the government is not reacting to it. And if the government would be reacting a lot faster, it would force people to change their habits, because people are very, very lazy, and government has all the power. And even government could make a decision to start recycling certain materials that we are not recycling now, because it's just not economically viable for them.
It's not in their budget.
Yeah.
But then again, like I'm quite libertarian, I think. I don't think the government should control too much, because in the end, it's like when you're raising a child, I would say, you don't want the child to be good because otherwise you're punishing the child. You want the child to be good because it has an inner sense of goodness. So when they started heavily taxing cigarettes and alcohol in Holland, I mean, it may have dropped off a little bit, but the hardcore smokers are not going to stop. You know, they're just, okay, I'll pay a bit more. That's it. So, but you can, it's difficult. The government should have a guiding role and a good example, but it's always an interesting discussion how much the government is able to control your individual freedom. It's a difficult question. It becomes very political, I think.
Can I add something to this conversation?
Yes.
I mean, in terms of the government putting in regulations for all of these, I feel like there's this big movement by corporations to shift the guilt onto the consumer in terms of recycling and waste and maintaining a more sustainable planet. But in reality, I mean, Coca-Cola is the biggest plastic polluter in the world. It's not the individuals, like, and we can do so much to kind of boycott these large corporations who are have extremely unsustainable practices, but at the end, there's only so much a consumer can do. And so I feel like in that sense, it's up to a governmental system to control. But in terms of the individual, I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think that's a good remark. Yeah, because that is one of those places where the government still holds some control. There might be the problem that the company like Coca-Cola will move to the country next door where the rules are a bit more lenient. And you get this really weird dynamic shift of, we are a poor country, so we can't afford to have these really strong environmental laws. Otherwise, the companies that are now polluting my lake, they're at least paying taxes here. So it's it's difficult. Yeah, it's always a difficult question. This.
Okay, I think we should try to move on to the next question.
Yeah, are you keeping an eye on time? I think you know the schedule a bit better than we do. We are now 5:05.
Yes, and this part goes until, I lost the program at the second. It is, I think, till 20 past, is it?
So we have a quarter still left to go through some questions. It's nice, people are writing down, like, walk more in the city instead of taking the car or the bus, which is really nice. But it's one of those things that is very lazy, but if you start doing it, you don't just save the planet a bit better, you also get in shape and start explore your city in a different fashion and see it in the city from a different perspective. So
I think these two questions kind of fit with each other. So I believe we can go to the next one then.
All right.
So the question is, what things you could promise yourself you could do to reduce your carbon footprint, which is pretty similar as that question, actually. Okay, we'll keep on. What greener and more sustainable Europe means to you? What is your vision? Like,
that's a good question, I would say.
it is over here. Let's gather on the big green square.
Let's gather around the big green square. Yes. Where's the big green square? Somewhere there. Do you have an answer for this? More localized food options? Or a European-wide recycling program?
Well, that's recycling would be nice. Wild recycling. And it's just subsidizing companies that are doing good, and stop subsidizing companies who are doing bad. Just,
yeah, that does sound ideal. Then you get the different questions like what is good and bad, and it's my tax-paying money, and I want to invest in Coca-Cola. I like them so much, you know.
Yes.
I do think there's a positive side to this lockdown. People are experiencing what it is to work from home. So there's 90% less traffic jams in Holland now, because people are just working from home. And Holland has always been a country where people use their bikes a lot, like cycling, and going to the store, your local supermarket, you don't need a car for it. So the car is being used way less. Then again, like package delivery cars are driving around way more because everyone is ordering stuff online. It's yeah, it's interesting, this lockdown. It has made everyone super localized. You're not all gathering in the big city anymore for your job. You can do it from home, and yeah, interesting to see what kind of results this will have over the long term. I do not know this. Greenifying the public space. I like that it's also written that provides shade to reduce the heat.
Yes, but it's true.
Oh, it must be, yeah. So we need less air conditioning.
Yeah.
But really, this doesn't affect that much. Like entire apartment buildings, if you planted giant trees around it or something? Or?
Oh, no. Well, it depends on the country. Like, we are not the country of air conditioners.
Yeah.
But when you go to a air conditioner country, with warm climate, it's just it's impossible to live without air conditioner. Then you just really have to adjust your whole schedule, and then you get to the siesta thing.
Siesta.
Siesta.
Siesta is also nice.
Siesta.
Yeah.
But really, just it is impossible to live in those countries without air conditioning.
Yeah, you boiled to death.
Yes.
And again, they were doing that before we invented the air conditioning, so people were just miserable for thousands of years? Or?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Clear answer. Very good.
But I think also in this conversation about greening of public spaces, there's a lot in relationship to the history of all of these, in Europe especially, of European cities that are based around a very specific architectural style, where it requires a lot of concrete and stone, and so they don't have the space to integrate all of these green spaces. And so they have this question of the patrimony of public space versus the greening and reducing of heat spots. I know in a lot of American cities, they've done heat mapping of the cities to see where public parks and even just streets with trees and grass, how the temperature differentiates between them. And there is a significant difference in spaces that have a lot of greenery in the public spaces versus spaces that are purely concrete, even in areas where it's not necessarily super hot. But with climate change, summers are getting hotter every year in Europe. So
yeah.
I think it's something that's important to discuss for the future if we're going to be dealing with climate change.
Yeah. Interesting that you mentioned this cultural aspect of it, where you want to keep this hegemony of the image of a city. because there are no, a lot of cities that are just really just made of concrete and rock, and no room at all for a little patch of land or some trees. Yeah.
Okay, let's, if there's no commentary or anyone wants to tell us a fun thing or anything,
I think we can,
let's move on the next one. It's almost the last one, but it's not the last one yet. What could be done, or what you wish to do to contribute in the order to reach the vision of creating a greener city, for example, or if we had like more local foods to be used, or ideas like using less cars, like what personally you could try to change, for like telling a friend that, hey, let's have a bike ride to somewhere fun in different, say, to ride a car.
What could be done, or what do you wish to do to contribute in order to reach the vision of a more green Europe?
Write petitions to the government.
You're gonna be a full-time petition writer.
Yes.
Ah, it's being written by Pettis. Very good. Continue to grow my window flower box to add more green to public space. That's nice. It's a little contribution, but it's even that way greenifying stuff. Oh, guerrilla gardening. Everyone will become a guerrilla gardener. Slowly
Yes.
with like seed bombs and just chucking them into over fences and stuff. I think we have 5 minutes left, and then we will go to the main room. Beatrice, when we are back in the main room, I think you will summarize what has been the result of this, or do we also have to say something there?
I think we can try to summarize all together, if it's because it's pretty hard to search through all of the questions and answers at the same time. But yeah, I think I will try to summarize, but if you want to help, I'm surely ask you to participate. So, is there any quick answers in the comments? No, I'm not very keen on writing in the Zoom, I guess. But I invite you to talk if you're not willing to write things. I can write down them for you.
One of those Zoom things, those uncomfortable silences. Like, am I supposed to talk now? What's happening? Do I notice people? It's weird.
It's a global village.
Oh, it's a very global village now, yeah. We are very internationally oriented in the Zoom room.
How do you think internet changes the way people grow things? Like, you couldn't program a Raspberry Pi if you didn't have internet. Or like, what are the changes that the internet have made, like, for your experience in this?
But it's just the information, the knowledge that we can now share.
Yeah.
Because you could still program a Raspberry, but you would go to a library to rent a book, or you would go to a university to learn this from a person. But now it's just a lot more available and a lot more democratic. It's just cheaper, so it's more available to a lot of people.
And to add it, it's not just more available, it's also more diversely available, because I know that when I'm diving into a new subject I have no knowledge of yet, I like to just watch some videos of people just kind of highlighting the subject, and then I might go to more textual written down tutorials that I can follow, and then dive into the fora and ask questions to the community who knows way more. So I think it's just you don't have to invent as much as you would have before. You can really step on each other's shoulders and climb up. So those you can quickly reach stuff. Like, I would never have imagined that I can make a robot that's being controlled from anywhere in the world. Like a year ago, I wouldn't have imagined that I can make that, but just slowly accumulating all the knowledge through the internet has made me has allowed me to do this. So it's yeah, if we can protect one thing, I would say it is the internet. Besides the earth and the environment and stuff, you know, internet's also important.
Okay. I believe we could go to the last question of this session, as we're slowly running out of time also. And yeah, how do you see the situation at this moment? Like, is it that bad, or do we have some hope? What do you think?
Only hope.
Well, I just know that people, as they are, people are good. People want to be good, and no one wants to ruin the planet. But if we don't have the environment to do it, the logistics to do it, we are all kind of all stuck in our habits. So either we change the logistics or we change our habits or something in between, I guess. Because we really want to be good, we really want to recycle, we want to eat local foods, and we want to be overall just healthy. But if we don't have the means and all the logistics to do it, we are stuck in the place where we live.
And yes, all of the participants in this room, I encourage and invite you to check out the Zoom chat part, because there's the link. It has been there and it's all again there, and you can click on it and come inside of this room, and you can scroll around and push space and like drag yourself around or move with this thing. There's the zoom thing, magnification tool.
The Zoom thing.
Yes, that's the magnification tool that you can use. And you can still put your input in these questions or thoughts.
Yeah, but if you're going to be answering one question, answer the last one. How do you see the situation now? I do think that even when the things you write down are negative, at least we can see what things are being thought of as negative and happening at the moment. So that we could lead to, yeah.
More ideas of what to do, what can we do, what are we doing. And also, this is a fun thing you could maybe use if you're not willing to put some ideas down. That's a calculator that you can calculate how many CO2 waste do you produce per food unit, and how often do you eat that? Depending on that, how often you eat, for example, bananas, it tells you how much CO2 you theoretically create. You put the amount of potatoes that you eat, or?
No, we select avocados, and then you just are guilt tripped and please don't eat avocados. They're horrible for the environment.
Oh, yes.
But we knew this. Yes.
Well, the avocados it's a bit of a funny food, because avocados, if you Google how to be a healthy vegetarian, you will get avocados. The avocado, like vegetarian, the fresh vegetarians are brainwashed into eating avocados, and I don't understand why.
Oh, I was laughing about the potato amount of greenhouse gases, and it seems that potatoes are a really low danger zone comparing to rice or pasta.
They're what? They are more
like they produce less of like
greenhouse gas.
It's a comparison of starches, and the potatoes are on the bottom, and on top of them are bread, oatmeal, pasta, and rice is like, I know, even like 7 times more production.
Well, then it's nice that the potato is such a versatile vegetable. You can fry them, bake them, cook them, stick them in a stew. What else? Brines, air fry them. Try them out. Puree them. What else?
Puree and then bake them.
Puree and then bake them and then fry them. What else can you do with them?
Pancakes.
Pancakes. A nice salad, like cold.
Yes. Grill them. Grill them with skin.
On a fire in aluminum.
Yes.
What is it called? We say poffen in Dutch. Potato poffen. It is 25. I think we should return, Petrus.
Yes, it is almost the finish of our time. In
But I
this
think
breakout
someone
room.
will also just come to us.
But you have to be careful not to exit the meeting, because under, like, on top of the bottom of exiting the room, there's also exiting the meeting. So either be careful or wait.
Rejoin. Okay, so I think we're telling everyone in this breakout room to go back to the main room, which you do by clicking the blue button, leave room. But as Peter said, after clicking on that one, you have to choose go away from this entire meeting or just go back to the main room. And then click the correct one, please. So leave the breakout room and I'll see you in the main room.
And thank you for your work.
Yes,
It
thank
was a
you
lot of
for
fun.
everyone who's participated. I hope we have transferred some useful knowledge. See you in the main room.